What is going on, guys? It's your boy Cesso here, bringing us a video here today, bringing you guys a Photoshop tutorial to create your own esports banner design, whatever the title is. In between that is like the whole theme of it, but right now, as you guys can see, it's a pretty freaking dope and awesome, super awesome design. I don't know, I'm incredibly happy with the outcome of this one. For me, it was more or less the fact that I sort of tried to get away from using like overlay, try to use colors, try to like mash things together, make it look very just right, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to make sure I continuously improve myself in blending stocks and not just always using overlay and sort of getting the easy way out, or really not the thinking way out, you know what I mean? So I came up with this really cool dope idea, and I think it looks really freaking dope. The only things that are being used in this video here today excuse me, would be, what is this thing called? I'll put it in the description down below. It's called like a grunge splatter banner. That's what this thing is called. You probably can't see it because it's above everything or below everything. It's this thing right here. I use this for this over here, and then I use brush stock for my brush pack, which is this one right here for this circle thing you see on the outsides here. And then this splatter as well is also from the same exact picture, and then pretty much the pattern overlay to use on the insides here, which just gives this really dope sort of almost like a depth in a way, or really cool. It just looks really good without this sort of weird sort of pattern going in out of nowhere and then like breaking the whole structure of the actual design. I don't know what it is, but I think it just looks really cool. I think I would do it myself. I think it looks really dope. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to do this thing today. So of course, 2 likes on the video equals a secret down below, and most likely the PSD of the video here you see today. So of course, as always, guys, don't forget to like the video, comment down anything you want to see me do in the future, and all that cool stuff. And let's go ahead and get this thing going right now. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get this thing going. Now immediately you're going to ask yourself, this is like an esports related stuff, where do I get these pictures from? Where did you get yours from? I know for sure you're going to ask. So I got mines from the Twitter at Chris Bet, but then it's like B3T, but his name is Chris Bet, pretty cool name by the way, and he's a really dope action photographer and stuff like that. I wanted to address to him like, hey, I want to use your pictures in the video. He was just full on board and just very helpful, gave me the raw files and all that cool stuff. So if you guys want to check it out, his Twitter's in the description, as well as his portfolio, where you can go ahead and ask him, or, you know, strip some pictures from there, and just make sure you guys credit the photographer. Always credit the photographer if you're doing some sort of esports banner, because it's all about them going to the event themselves, purchasing it themselves, unless they're in like an organization, and really, you know, taking these pictures and moving forth themselves as a, you know, photographer. So I want to make sure I gave him the full credit for the pictures and stuff like that, and I really appreciate him very much, and you guys should go check him out. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to grab the pictures from here. I'm going to grab the first one. I believe it's this one that I'm going to be using. I don't know, I'll see. Yes, it is this one. Okay, so we'll grab that in a second. Okay, so the black background I'm using, it does not matter what background you are using. By the way, I'm in a Twitter header dimension as 3000 by 1500 pixels, the Twitter header dimension. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this picture in now. Now, since he gave me the raw file, I was fortunate enough to actually, I can mess around with the exposure and stuff myself. I'm just going to make it just good enough that it doesn't, you know, we're just going to make it just good enough. You know what I mean? There we go. Just good enough. Perfect. Now, so when I go ahead and throw this picture in, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. And the cool thing about having a raw file, just in case you guys are not, you know, you don't know, basically what happens is you can actually double click on this again. I don't know how the hell I just whistled. What the fuck? You can just, what the hell was that? I want to learn how to do that again. Okay, anyway, so you can double click on it again and open up a raw file. It's pretty cool if you guys did not know that, just in case, you know, in the future, if you ever mess up or anything like that, or use a picture from him and he sends it to you or not, or you email him, whatever, you know what I mean? Okay, so the first thing first is the, of course, the gradient you wanted to learn how to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to our adjustments here. We're going to go to gradient map. Now, I already have this saved here. Let me show you guys what the whole gradient was all about. It's using a green on one side, which is a nice little green. I kind of try to match the optic green color. Of course, you want to make sure you kind of match as much as possible. And then I gave myself a corresponding color that did not, that was not black. Let me show you guys in the exact way. Let me make sure I select this one and then reverse it. That way you can actually see what it's supposed to look like. Now, at first, if you use a green and you put a black, that's just basic green gradient map. The whole thing about enhancing a gradient map and really understanding it, excuse me, is using a darker sort of, not opposite color, but something that's a corresponding color exactly, actually. So like a darker corresponding color. So for me, it was blue. If you can go around, you can see this like so odd like greenish yellowish tint. But basically, you can't just use two of the same bright colors. That's not how it's gonna work. You want to use one primary color as the one you wish to actually see as, you know, the main color scheme, right? If it's red, it's red. If it's green, it's green. If it's blue, it's blue. That's going to be that first one. But the second one here that we're using right now, you want to see a darker color, but have it be a color that really corresponds to what you're actually using in the beginning. So if you're using a red, maybe use a corresponding orange. If you're using a green, use a corresponding, I don't really know, maybe like a purplish. It might look weird, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think in my head how it would look, but you guys understand what I'm talking about, right? So once you basically have that, you're good to just sort of add a little bit of a color curve, right? Add a simple little S curve. As always, you need one of those simple little S curves. There we go. So now we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna pretty much make a new layer. We're gonna take a brush here, a nice soft brush, which means 0 hardness, a pretty good fair size. We're gonna hold Alt on our computer. That way we can select a green that's already like sort of here, or whatever color you're using. Your basically select your primary color, and then once you've done that, you want to go ahead and click on the actual foreground color again, and then just move it up to the top left. Wherever it is, wherever you click that, it should be somewhere over here with a, you know, a nice little color, but just move it a little forward and, excuse me, a little to the top left. There we go. I don't know how else to explain it. But move it towards the top left a little bit so I can get that little whitish, you know, hue in there as well. So that way when I click around a couple times like this, and I put this blend mode from normal to linear dodge add, it'll give myself a really nice, cooler, sort of like bolded theme, like I don't know how to say it, like just really nice little color. It just feels right, it just feels good, the lighting just feels right? So I'm gonna go ahead and just now finalize this little portion of this with a brightness and contrast. So right now I'm gonna put my brightness, contrast just like so, and I think around let's just put it at 10 brightness and then 35 contrast to keep it nice and simple with the 5s. All right. So, once you have this pretty much done, you're good to say to yourself, okay, let's go ahead and move on to the main sort of other portion of this, which is that little thing that's going across right here, right? So, let's go ahead and do that now. Let's actually also make sure we have our picture here, matching the other one. I think it's a little further up, like so, right? Okay, so now where's this little thingy-majigger at? It's right over grunge splat. I think what I looked up, by the way, was grunge paint splatter or something like that. Something of that, what I looked up on Google. I found this stock that it was actually, fortunately, using graphic stock, not even sponsored video, just like, oh, I have graphic stock account, and then of course I logged into it and I downloaded it. So here we go. Let's just go ahead now and make this fairly big. I'll say something around there is pretty good. Now, I'm going to show you guys how I actually subtracted the black from the white without using just the regular old, you know, magic wand tool. As you see, if I click over here, it kind of doesn't select everything over here as well, and I won't select everything inside. So, little quick tip if you guys did not know already, if you were to select on your layer itself, go to select, and then go to color range. If you guys don't know about color range, it basically selects one color, picks that colors out, or picks that color out, excuse me, and then completely subtracts not subtracts it, well, we're going to subtract it, but it completely selects the entire color, that shade of color, and you can delete it right away. So something like a black and white photo is perfect. So if I were to click the white, because that's what I want to delete, and press OK, simply enough, you'll see that every nook and cranny, besides a couple of these little spots here that are more a grayish tone, every nook and cranny otherwise is basically going to be selected. And what I could do now is I can just go ahead and rasterize the layer really quick, and press delete on my keyboard, just like so. If I press delete on my keyboard, as you can see, all the white goes away, all that good stuff happens, and now we can pretty much now select it, just like so. We're going to select this splatter on the left-hand side, select it, which means like sort of pen tool all the way around it, right-click, make selection, press OK, and then on that selected layer, press M on your keyboard to bring up the rectangle marquee tool. That way you can have the option when you right-click to layer via cut. And that is very, very simple, very, very dope, and as you can see, everything else is still there. However, we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that not everything else is selected. So let's just now select it with a box and then layer via cut. That way if I press Control T, now it's just that. Perfect. So very simple. And all this other stuff, extra stuff that's on the outsides, just delete that. And then this little one over here, we're going to keep this as well. Let me see though. I'm going to go ahead actually, and I don't know why this is there. That's pretty awkward. I guess we'll just leave that for now. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now as well is select this one out, and then layer via cut, so everything on the outside's here, I can just press delete on, because I'm going to use these two things actually. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm just going to go ahead and just double click on this, and you see these other little white spots here, these little, you can see like the little outside coating of this little bit of white. A very simple way of doing that with something like this kind of stock where it's just black, you can just basically put a color overlay on it with a black color overlay, and it'll completely look like it's supposed to be like that, right? So as you can see, this little part over here though is still there, so I'm just press delete over there. I believe there's something over here as well. Delete over there. That way we can completely make sure that there's no other sort of... You can see that little mist of black that you saw. Just use the wand tool and just did that. And, you know, just kind of like erased it, right? I'm going to do the same thing over here, though. Make sure we get pretty much all of it away. And that's pretty easy to select, right? That's fine. Let's do the same thing with the color overlay on this one here. Make that black, press OK. And then let's just rasterize the layer type. And there we go. Sweet. So, basically now we have this little thing over here. Now what I actually did to mine, I'm going to just make sure I'm going to say, we'll just leave it like so. I could have made it a little more bigger. Maybe. But I don't want to really mess with the size too much because it's no longer rasterized. That for me still looks pretty okay. Like right there. I think that's about as good as we'll get it. And we're going to also make sure that that's rasterized like it is. Right? Let's also just do it again. Or you can just press Control U and lower the lightness down as well. There we go. Press OK. Now it's fully black and now we're ready to keep this thing going. So, now what we're going to do here is we're going to create this cool little sort of two-toned, not really color, but sort of match it in a way where, of course, when you originally selected your gradient map, you made sure it's a selected color where in the picture that you're using for the esports player or whoever you're using it for, the organization, make sure you just make, like, sort of match the color as best as you can. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in this second photo that I have here of Scumpy. Let's go ahead and put it in. I believe the original picture itself was really taken perfectly. I'm not going to mess around too much with this. That's good enough. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to just make this a fair bit bigger. But what's going to happen is this little black little thing that we have behind that over there, just clip mask it right into there. And there we go. Now we're going to have something like this. Now for me, I'm going to make sure I don't have, who's that guy? I forgot his name, not Puckett. I don't even know. I haven't watched it in a little bit, but whatever. Just make sure his face is not completely in there. Like right. Let's make it a little bigger then. Cool. So now we got this really cool action photo like splatted on, and it sort of looks like it's hiding under the banner design, or even like, I don't even know. I just feel like this little splat kind of like hides things or reveals things. That's really cool. It's really a nice little fun way of adding a picture in. That is a pretty perfect angle right there. I'm down with that. So now for me, I'm just gonna fine tune this little splat here. I'm gonna use a masking tool, the mask here. I'm going to use a black brush. If you guys did not know already, black brush will erase it. A nice black hardness brush. And I want to get rid of these little splat things. Now, to us, our eye is going to be like, you know, hey, like, I just erased this. It doesn't look quite right. However, only reason why you're saying that is because you see it yourself. But when you actually, you know, far back and whatever, it kind of just flows together. So me erasing this with a hard brush is not too big of a problem. However, you're probably going to get tilted for a second and be like, it doesn't... I see you erase that. It's like, you know, but in the original design, I guarantee it even crossed your mind. Let's just say a little of this kind of stuff can go away. We can say that this odd little splat here can go away. Or, I don't know, we'll leave that one. Let's just get rid of these then. And this is just sort of fine-tuning what you already had before. If you got a backspace, there we go. Make a nice little perfect. So, I don't want too much of this on the outsides. Like, all this stuff here, you don't want it to make it look sloppy and whatnot. You just want to make it to look like a nice little splat or sort of like a little, almost like a paint like brush going through. Let's just say now that is pretty okay. Now it's a little more uniform and not so like, you know, crazy and sporadic, right? I think that looks pretty dang good. Now, I believe what we're going to do now is we're going to just sort of separate this little left-hand side here. For me, when I originally created this sort of banner design, I said to myself, there's something very odd about this little space over here, but I also want to make sure I keep this very cool, simplistic look to the entire design, right? So for me, what I basically did was, behind this photo here, with this little black little thing here, I'm just going to make sure I kind of name my layers a little bit. Let's call this black splat. We'll call this one right here, it's just another splat that we're gonna, you know, sort of just put there to leave it there. This is for the lighting, and then this is the main picture in the background. Main background picture. Alright, now we got a little bit better. Scump pick. There we go. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just basically click, make a new layer right below that little splat, that black splat, right? And we're gonna go ahead and just sort of take our pen tool, and let's just make a nice little sort of white, just incredibly big white block. Now for some people it probably doesn't make too much sense, but for me it made like perfect sense when I originally did this. It just felt really good. Now I want to make sure it's not on a completely like sideways angle like that, but just a little bit enough because it just looks cool. For me, it just looked right. Put that nice little white there. Let's see, does that look better? Perfect. See, for me it also kind of like, it feels like I was making another color scheme, or excuse me, following the color scheme of his jersey. Originally in my mind, I was like, you know what, this kind of makes sense, right? You have this green, you have this white, and then all the way on this left-hand side, it's this black, and that's kind of what they use for their t-shirt, and it looks really freaking dope. I was really happy and excited for the fact that this really odd little white thing to the left just made complete sense, and I really do like it. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to sort of mess around with this little splat for a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose a color, and the way I did this was very, very, like, it's not hard. It's just me, I'm choosing a color that sort of matches the background. Very simply just clicking with the eyedrop tool, and I'm going to say this blue match with this blue, of course, right? Press OK again, and this will play a big part of what we're going to do next. And not really the splat itself, but sort of the portion of selecting the color. And for me, it just looks way more organized. Now, let me show you guys really quickly what would happen. If I just use black, right, I put it on overlay, this doesn't look like you tried, for me, it didn't look like I tried to make a really dope design. So that's why, all in all, I left it on normal, and I said, let's choose a color, and let's choose a color that kind of blends in with the background or the gradient map that we had, and it just looks really freaking dope, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that little brush stock that I used, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did that. Now, what I basically did was, I used this little brush stock right here. You can get it from selfbuy.com/SWHQ. I used it because, where is it? It was this one. I used it because I just felt like this sort of made sense for the whole, I guess, Call of Duty thing, or like the whole, for me it looked like a reticle, right? So I was like, oh, I have these little cool little reticle sort of HUD things. I'm gonna use this one. So what I did was click nice one time, sort of in the center of this right hand side, excuse me. What I did was I selected that color that I was talking about before again. Now this time I actually select, no, we're gonna actually select this little black. Or I wouldn't call it black, I would call it like dark blue, right? Navy-ish dark blue. And what this did automatically was sort of create this really dope tone and this repeated color scheme, and not just overlay, it looked together. And the way I did to enhance this, I'm gonna make this, let's just make it green so that way you guys can fully remember and see it and just recognize what this is. This is the stock. So above this stock, what I ended up doing was I made a new layer. I clippy masked that new layer onto this stock. I took my pen tool and just created a halfway point around it, and then filled it in with a green. It's gonna be this green, I believe, right? Yeah, so something around this. Now, at this very moment, I was like, yo, this is really cool. It feels like it disappears, comes in, disappears, comes in. And I had this really dope, like, feel to it. But at the same time, I was, like, saying to myself, why is this little, I don't feel like this harsh line should be here. So that's when I chose another stock of mine, which is this one right here. It was something, this one, right here. So I took an eraser. I just used an eraser sort of stock. And what I did was I just literally clicked and just dragged around just enough so I can get rid of that sort of, you know, those harsh lines. And this also created a really dope atmosphere where it just looked right. One of those, just another one of those things. So I did this one more time, but more towards the top left side. And we're gonna fill this in with that green, just like so. Fills in with green, and then simply take your eraser and then just get rid of that harsh line. And I felt like that made the entire banner design look really, really cool. And you can do this with more stocks, way more stuff. And I also did add one more little thing that I did, of course, which was that like pattern, this little pattern thing, right? So the way I did that was I basically just chose this little black splat, made a duplicate of it. When you do make a duplicate of it, the duplicate actually becomes the new sort of host for this picture here. And then you can take the original one, move it out if you want to. But what I basically did was I'm going to move it up forward for you guys to see. I lowered my fill all the way down to 0. If you guys don't know what that does, that completely gets rid of the picture itself with the opacity wise. But when I double click on this and add in a, what was it, a stroke? Yeah, I think it was a stroke, right? No, it was, I think it was drop shadow actually. I believe I added a drop shadow size 0. I forgot this part. No, I got this, dudes. All right, so I added a nice little drop shadow. And with this little drop shadow here, what I ended up doing was I put like a nice, sort of like a weird angle distance, so just get these little splats in these little outside areas over here. I pressed OK, right? And now I'm going to move this behind the actual thing again, just like so. Pressed OK, we're going to rasterize this layer. That way, what's going to happen here, only these little things are going to be showing now. When I rasterize the layer themselves, the only thing that was being shown would actually be what's coming up, right? So what I'm going to do now is the little splats here. They look really good right there. That was perfectly fine for me, but what I ended up doing was I just going to make a duplicate really quick. We're going to leave this, we'll just leave the original one as a duplicate. Take an eraser, and then just erase it a little bit to make a sort of scattery look to it, a little more scatter to it, right? I'm just using this little stock eraser again, right? You can use whatever sort of eraser that would work to make it look very, you know, kind of scattered. So what I'm going to do now, the last part was for this little portion, was I took this right here, I saw this and I was like, you know, I'm going to repeat this going through the entire banner design. So I'm going to erase this stuff over here, right, because I don't need that. I'm going to take this little thing right here, right, I'm going to hold Alt and Shift, and then just drag it around a couple times just like that. Now, this created these three little strokes here. I'm going to basically combine them again. I'll make this red so you guys can see it. On that layer, I'm going to click on my eraser. Make sure I use a hard brush eraser. That way, I'm going to get rid of this stuff completely. Make it look really nice. I'm going to say to myself, like, that right there looks pretty good. And what we're going to do actually really quick before we continue this part, we're just going to go ahead and quickly put the text in so that I can see where I want to erase completely. Like scump, optic scump. Right, let's make sure it's in the middle. There we are. Maybe a little bit bigger, right? There we go. And we're going to do is just quickly just change this hue. Make a nice little greenish hueish color there. We can always mess around with that in a second. And then on the bottom, put Captain of Optic Gaming. I feel like I spelled that wrong. I might have, but I just feel like I did. Did I spell it? No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. We're just going to go with confidence here. Okay, so let's just put the text right there. So now what I'm going to do is go back to this black splat. And I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually say to myself, I want to erase here because that's where the text is. I want to make sure that's not in the way or sort of, you know, getting, you know, erased too much. And I think that's perfectly fine. So when I saw this originally, even if you just change this color to one of those black, like those background colors like this right here itself looks so freaking dope. But however, I was like saying to myself, I don't want to make it too grungy. I want to give this sort of like a nice little pop to it. So what I actually did was I changed the color to not the darker color, but sort of the mainish green color, right? And what I did was I rasterized the color when I put the color overlay on. That way, what I'm going to do is we're just going to call this pattern, because now we're going to change this layer to layer style. We're going to put a pattern overlay on, and I had this little pattern here. If you guys use a pattern pack that I have, almost like 30 plus of you guys actually bought that day, and I really appreciate that. And all of you guys are like tweeting me like, yo, Sesso, this is freaking dope. So not to like lie or anything, but you guys really freaking killed it with the whole new release of the pattern pack. So with that being said, I did use the pattern pack, and I just basically use this little cool little stock right here for the patterns, and it kind of like just brings lines sideways. Now you can use anything you want. Like I have other ones over here, right? Okay, boom, boom, right? And then basically what I had done was press OK, and then I said to myself, this is pretty much almost done, but it just needed one more thing. Now what that one more thing was a nice little color balance sort of finish to it. So what I did was color balance, and now I didn't actually remember the settings I put before, but if I really wanted to, I can check. But what I'm going to do is I know I pretty much went to the cyan, right, to get a little more blue going. I know I went more to the green because I wanted to keep that green, and I also went for the yellow to blue. I definitely put it to more blue. Now, pretty much here you can see that this like sort of entire banner design sort of gets this really nice two-tone color. It looks really freaking dope. If you want to enhance a little more, you can just, you know, mess around with this a little bit more. And I think that's pretty freaking accurate to what I had before. Right, and also covers over the picture here, and it just makes it look completely right. So, I think we're pretty much done with the video, right? I pretty much did everything. I think I did it all. So, if you wanted to finish it out a little bit, maybe you can add some more lighting. I didn't do this in my original, but who knows? Maybe it looks okay. Let's just see what happens when I click, like, around where the name is a little bit more, right? Okay, I can see it working. Alright, we're not going to mess around with that because I like the outcome, and I'm very glad that I actually get a pretty accurate, you know, version of what I had before for my original. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I try to make it as most, how do you say, informational or sort of understanding what my concept was while going through the actual design itself. So hopefully that makes it more entertaining or whatnot, just not me just clicking around and stuff like that, explaining a little more. So, hope you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. 200 likes on the video equals a secret down below. As always, guys, thank you guys so very much. If you're not subscribed to me already, you can click that subscribe button, click the bell icon if you guys are like, you know, returning viewers and you guys like, you don't know when I go upload or whatever. You know my upload schedule, because my upload schedule is like either Friday or Saturday usually every week. So if you guys want to know automatically, just click that bell icon as always, guys. Also, don't forget to check out my Sellfy, sellfy.com/SessoHQ for any pre-meds and packs as low as $3. And I also will put the pattern pack and the brush pack in the description down below. That way you have to look for it. So, thank you guys so very much. And yeah, talk to you guys later. SessoHQ out. Do not forget to keep smiling, stay positive, and stay freaking productive, guys. Later.